Clayton Kershaw is likely to return to the Dodgers this week. Quinn Snyder times his resignation perfectly. Not for the Utah Jazz, but for national talking heads to take another cheap shot and crap on the Lakers. And Rams coach Sean McVay. He spent his last week with the players trying to teach them, quote, above the neck stuff, and then he ruins it all by going out to get married. Hi, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. It is June 6, 2022. We are going to talk and get caught up with the Rams for a good chunk of the day. But before we get there, we're trying to build something about LA sports here. If you like the content, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. We put out new videos between 9 and 10 a.m. every day to let you know it's there. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comment. For I'm not God. I am not perfect. Before we get to the news and notes, let's take a look at the scoreboard from yesterday. Took 10 innings for the Mets to do it, but they get a split with the Dodgers, 5-4. The Dodgers, they ended a 31-game in 30-day stretch. They need a day off, and they are getting one today. They are 35-19, a 2-game lead over the Padres. Meanwhile, in LA Sparks games, Phoenix took them out, 81-74. Look, the Sparks are 5-7. So yesterday's game was kind of important because there they were reaching desperately for the brass ring of mediocrity. And then it fumbled away. Better luck next time, ladies. It is what it is. Clayton Kershaw's next outing will be with the Dodgers. According to manager Dave Roberts, Kershaw got that one shot out in Rancho Cucamonga to show everybody he was fine. He allegedly is. There's another starter on rehab, Andrew Heaney. Now for him, it depends on what you read. Could be one more rehab assignment. Could be 3. He's in Oklahoma City. I'm guessing he's trying to make sure it's 1 or less, okay? I mean, it always cracks me up. He's got to be lying through his teeth about how healthy he is. It cracks me up because everybody outside of LA loves to point and laugh at LA about the earthquakes. Your city could fall into the ocean at any time and be laid to ruins. Dude, your state gets torn apart every single week. Okay? I've been to Oklahoma. I don't want to hear it. Oklahoma is the only mall that I've ever seen that sells tornado shelters. There's a reason for that. Okay? So stop telling me about how lousy LA is. And stop looking at your sister that way while you're at it. Kevin Pillar's season is over, by the way. He's going to have surgery on his left shoulder. We'll move on to the Lakers. It was just minutes ago, Rasheed Wallace has officially joined the coaching staff. Now, he was a teammate with head coach Darvin Ham on Detroit's 2004 championship team. My first thought, the coaching staff looks more hardcore than the roster. I mean, who would you rather have on your side in a dark alley, Rasheed Wallace or Russell Westbrook fiddling with his dress? I mean, I don't understand. It's like, okay, fine, they tuned out Frank Vogel. Good luck tuning out Rasheed Wallace. So I think I'm in favor of it. I guess. Russell Westbrook is said to be in favor of the Darvin Ham hiring. I don't know if I'd read a lot into that. Look, everybody's making nice now, but I will say that sports writers continue to crack me up, okay? There was this article that was posted. There's been multiple ones about how Ham can make Russell Westbrook more effective next year. And it was the same list that the scribes had for Frank Vogel. Way to go to Kinko's and copy and paste the same notes for one guy to the next. And I realize Kinko's doesn't exist anymore. Just roll with it. You went to FedEx office with the same list, ran it through the copy machine, and just handed it off. Way to be creative. Thank you for the analysis, Professor Mouth Breather. Oh, hey, maybe we could have Russell Westbrook play off the bench. You don't think Frank Vogel considered that? All you got to do is let Westbrook know it's LeBron's team. Yeah, we know. You got paid to copy and paste the same story. And they wonder why the journalism industry keeps laying people off. There's nothing new to say. I would say that Quinn Snyder stepping down from the Utah Jazz, I wonder if that was the coach respecting his former employers. I mean, just because you leave a job doesn't mean everything has to be an angry party, right? Maybe Quinn was like, you know what? You gave me 8 years in a totally unstable industry. I know I can land another job. So I'm going to do you a solid and not look like I'm kicking you in the nuts by trying to parlay it into the Lakers gig. I can see Quinn Snyder doing that. And to be honest, if the dude doesn't want to work for the Lakers, I'm not going to hate on him for it. He was an assistant there. He's not stupid. He knows he'd be under the microscope. But I am guessing, and I have a really strong hunch about this, that there's a lot of talking heads at ESPN and Fox Sports 1 just salivating over the easy 5 minutes that they get to fill now by crapping on the Lakers. You don't think they're going to say, the Lakers should have waited. Of course they're going to do that. I mean, do you really look at Around the Horn and think, wow, this is brilliant analysis I've never heard? And by the way, don't worry if you don't miss out on Stephen A. Smith spitting his mad game all over Max Kellerman's cake hole on First Take, because trust me, it's going to be the same opinion on Speak for Yourself, Pardon the Interruption, Highly Questionable, Jalen and Jacoby, The Herd, Undisputed, First Things First. It's going to be the same damn opinion. They are all shamelessly, all of those tubby, cherubic, brainless scribes are just lining up to like little piglets to the suckling teat of brainless opinions just so they can say how the Lakers blew it by not going after Quinn Snyder. I know. I used to work among them. 27 Sports posted 10 games that would define the upcoming college football season. USC has 2 games listed: Notre Dame and UCLA. The only team with more quote-unquote season-defining games is Alabama with 3. I wouldn't read a lot into that, except for one point. It does validate that the Trojans are again relevant. But I also think it means UCLA is becoming relevant. Keep in mind, there are no more divisions in the Pac-12. There is a shot that the Trojans and Bruins could play twice, including the conference title game. If that's the case, the Bruins become a little bit more relevant too. One more team to talk about before we go to the Rams. I think Kings fans such as myself need to tone down the hype a little bit. There's every reason to believe that the Vegas Golden Knights underachieved by missing the playoffs. And there's a reason to expect a bounce back. I mean, if you think about it, the Kings, it's not like they're in trouble, but they're in player development mode. And players, when they develop, they don't go on a straight upward trajectory. It's like this. A lot of rises, a lot of falls. So they're not in trouble, but the Kings have to keep their wits about them. And you hear a lot about a left-handed defenseman. You've heard the name Jacob Chetron bandied about at the trade deadline a lot. And I'm sure the Kings are probably going to try to revisit it with Arizona during this offseason. But a name to tuck in your back pocket, left-handed defenseman Nikita Zadorov, who is an unrestricted free agent from Calgary. He checks a lot of boxes. He's a left-handed shot. He hits everything, and he's huge, which is all stuff that that Drew Doughty mentioned in his offseason interview, that he thought the Kings needed to get a little tougher. Now, he wouldn't be a first-line pairing with Doughty, but you could easily see him in the third line with Sean Dursey, perhaps. That would add a lot of depth to the Kings' defense. But what do you say we talk about the Rams? Sean McVay got married. Good for the coach, I guess. Look, I'm on my 3rd marriage, so the one wedding gift I wish to bestow on the McVays is no marital advice whatsoever. Because I don't know how marriages work, dude. I only know how they fail. But I will say this. If you, the viewing audience, want to learn a little bit about the blushing bride, I can tell you two things. One, she's Ukrainian, so she has a name that nobody can pronounce or spell. And two, she's Ukrainian, so she's pretty hot. Let's just call it for what it is. And that's important life advice, I think, for the ladies out there. If your name is easy to spell and pronounce, you might want to consider it making more difficult so dudes start to think you're hotter than maybe that you actually are, okay? You go to a Tilted Kilt, you go to a Hooters, you never meet an Alice at the Hooters, right? Every waitress there is named Kelsey with like 5 E's and a silent Q. My wife, the current one, has a maiden name that nobody can pronounce, and she's hot. So that's today's episode of Shallow Life Hacks. Make your name tougher to pronounce. Find the man of your dreams. Regarding how long Sean McVay stays in coaching, it's a fair question. The scribes were asking about it in March. He's 36. He says he doesn't imagine coaching into his 60s. He doesn't want to chase Belichick or Don Shula. All of this is fine if you're a Rams fan. I wouldn't freak. Here's why. The game passes almost every coach eventually. And it's not just in the NFL. Like, to go back to the 1980s, the idea of the Lakers ever being coached by somebody not named Pat Riley felt like it's an impossibility. But Riley left because he understood that his own players started to tune him out. It's not that they hated him, it's that they heard it all before. So there is going to be a time when the Rams need a different voice. It's just not now. Going to the Rams UTAs, have you noticed the Rams haven't signed any of their draft picks yet? The guess here is that they're trying to resolve Aaron Donald's contract first. Most rookies, their contracts are relatively cut and dry. There's a pay scale. They just slide the player into that hole and away they go. So I think they're actually focusing more on Aaron Donald. Cooper Kupp plans on joining minicamp this week. And he too is looking for a renegotiated deal, but he said he, quote, loves the team. So yeah, he's not trying to be a jerk either. The coaches with the Rams, they love the football aptitude of both wide receiver Allen Robinson and linebacker Bobby Wagner, and this matters because both are coming into entirely new philosophies with the Rams. So there is a learning curve, but because they are both intelligent, the learning curve is not that severe, which is a beautiful thing. I want to bring up that whole Rams drafting thing, their strategy, because a lot of sports writers couldn't comprehend it. They hate what the Rams do in the draft. But there is evidence to prove that the Rams method has a point. Pete Prisco of CBSSports.com, to his credit, regrades his own drafts. Okay? He doesn't just sit there and go, oh, we did it once, we let it go. The 2019 draft was originally labeled a B. Now keep in mind, anything less than an A, and the scribe thought you were taking heroin. So he thought the Rams were on heroin. But the regrade is an A, because they landed 4 starters: safety Taylor Rapp, Greg Gaines on the defensive line, and 2 guards, Bobby Evans and David Edwards. Pete Prisco is like, you know what? That's great drafting. As for the Chargers, their 2019 draft grade dropped like a rock. That was a draft with Jerry Tillery. LA didn't pick up the option on his contract, so he's probably on his way out. They also added defensive back help over the last year, which means they might be reconsidering Nasir Adderley. So the Chargers regrade is actually a C-. Somebody passed the heroin. Now, if you enjoyed today's episode of Faithful Angelenos, thank you. I appreciate it. You should like and subscribe to the program where we're trying to build something about LA sports. Thank you very much for watching. I'm James. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corta El Queso production. See you tomorrow.